estuary has been here forever, and we know that the K'omoks people have been here for at least 4,000 years, perhaps even longer. The estuary is and always has been part of the traditional territory of the K'omoks people. The band is leading the way in the adoption of the K'omoks Estuary Management Plan, and will help facilitate implementing this plan and making sure that in the future the estuary is protected and preserved for future generations. The collaboration between the K'omoks people and the citizens of the K'omoks Valley to gain National Historic Site status for this estuary is very important. We are beginning to understand the significance of the estuary to the K'omoks people, and I believe with time this will come across the entire population of the K'omoks Valley.
To find something in our backyard which we don't understand and which nobody really understood until very recently was just very, very moving. The sticks in the mud are remnants. They're wood stakes driven into the intertidal zone, into the mud sediments that have been here for probably thousands of years. And they are remnants of many fish traps. We found that fish traps were built and rebuilt on top of one another over time, many on the same spot over 1,000 years. They caught the fish when the tide was falling and stranded them. And on a rising tide, the fish were able to bypass the traps and go upstream, for instance, in the case of salmon. They were able to catch enormous amounts of fish. They were able to regulate the fishery to sustain the fish returns. That means that the fishery was not depleted over the course of 1,000 years. When David and I were out here with our family mapping these traps, we, after a while, began to feel and understand living life in connection with the estuary.
They sustained this thing for well over 1,000 years, and that really is a testament to their respect for the environment and for their understanding of long-term management.
I think we can all learn a great deal from First Nations practices, their values, the way they worked with the natural world. This area was phenomenally productive. Based on the numbers of traps we found here, they conducted fishing on an industrial scale. This is really the only example that we have along the northwest coast of a large fishery that is very much comparable to the kinds of fisheries we have today. This site has the merits of a National Historic Site from the point of view of the large numbers of wood stakes in the estuary, and also from the large number of fish traps that have been mapped, the complexity of the trap systems, the fact that these traps are unique, the fact that it has a large industrial scale. It's really a new area in archaeological research, the understanding of how fish trapping was done and the importance economically to the Aboriginal people along the northwest coast.
I think the lesson that we can learn from our study here is to be a lot more respectful of the environment and to understand that we just have to live more in relationship and in balance with the environment.
Normally, archaeological sites are usually in remote places, but we are blessed with an archaeological site right in smack dab in the center of our community. There's immense educational value in understanding what's here. It's a very good example of how human beings can live in cooperation with nature to retain abundance, retain a natural abundance for a very long time.
When I talked to my grandfather about what the valley was like when he was a kid, the estuary was a lot bigger. Actually, it was a floodplain that went all the way past Field Sawmill. That's all backfill. It used to be estuary. In the fields, the Farquharson's farm fields, how they flood every year, that's because it's floodplain. It used to be a lot more vast than what it is now. Probably all of Bain Sound I would consider part of the estuary, and even up the Courtenay River, the Pentledge and Solom. Estuaries were designed to support the environment, obviously, in different ways. And as the world marches on and people's lives, they learn about the importance of preserving places like the estuary for the good of the environment as a whole. There's actually historical fish weirs in the mudflats in the estuary, and what those were used for was to catch a vast amount of fish to supply the K'omoks people and most likely other neighboring nations as well. There's not a whole lot of places in the world where you can actually look at physical evidence and learn history about it right outside your front door. The sad part of the world today is everything comes down to money, and if somebody's got enough money to override protection, then that will happen. In my perfect world, it would look probably a lot less developed than it looks today. The more people learn about it, the more people will find that it is definitely something that they might want to take an interest in and learn more about. The estuary is not just a body of water that sits in the K'omoks Bay, that it's actually got some real significant meaning culturally and environmentally, and that it should definitely be preserved and protected and restored. That's a piece of our history, and if we don't protect it, it might not be here to share with people in the future.
When I first seen the weir started to show up in probably 1949 and 50s, when all the stakes started to show up after the earthquake. This whole estuary was, even over in the island, there used to be booms tied up. As I was growing up, we swam out in the river, and they weren't there when I was growing up until maybe 8, 9 years old when they started showing up, and I often wondered what they were. I even asked my mom, and my mom didn't know, because they weren't there in her time. These rivers here used to be a fantastic amount of fish in them. When I used to go swimming up in the river in Courtenay out by the Pentledge, you couldn't swim in the water because there was so much fish. Then it finally started declining, and today there's hardly any fish in the river. My grandchildren and their kids, in the future, should have some kind of knowledge, It should be documented so they can see how important the estuary is to us. That K'omoks people, they've been here for thousands and thousands of years. It's important that everybody knows the history of the K'omoks First Nations people, or all First Nations people. We have the knowledge to implement anything. It would benefit everybody in K'omoks Valley here, not just First Nations people. It's our history, and our history can't be lost.
I came here 10 years ago to retire here for all of the natural attributes that are here. To me, that's the difference in the K'omoks Valley. That's what we have to protect. We have to look after our parks, look after the estuary, and do what's necessary to ensure that these parks and the estuary is going to be there for many generations to come. It's important that the young people come out, and many of the schools come out here and they bring the kids out, and they're out turning the rocks over and they're involved. The more information we can get about the estuary and how it's fed and looked after people for thousands of years, the better it will be. Native people have been here for 10,000 or more years. The estuary is the jewel in the crown of the K'omoks Valley. It's a very marketable and important thing for the K'omoks Valley to ensure that it protects its natural features. A National Historic Site will just bring more prominence to the estuary, and more people will be involved and want to become involved with the estuary. So I think creating a National Historic Site is very important, and who knows, maybe we'll get a United Nations site after that. In the end, if it's well managed, everybody wins.
I think that's quite exciting when you see higher level politicians and people responsible for policies who truly get it, and it's not just lip service. Governments can do a lot more and be popular for it by protecting the ecosystem values that we actually, most citizens in Canada, optimistically want to protect. A situation like in this estuary where we have really good evidence of well-established and very sophisticated systems of human brilliance and how they extracted the resource for thousands of years and how they lived there in populations in the tens of thousands. In the long run, for all societies to maintain their fundamental ecological foundation of their economic system is critical. We are completely interconnected. Human innovation, for all its follies, is amazing.
When I create my artwork, I tend to look outside a lot and spend a lot of times outdoors on my bike or different places. And I work right on the Dyke Road, so I look right across at the eagles going down into the harbor. The surroundings shape who I am and where I'm from. A lot of our legends talk about a sense of place, and we feel that it's important to connect. I think that I'm really connected with my culture because of the influence of my grandmother. She spent a lot of time with me growing up and influenced me very strongly and gave me a sense of identity and a sense of belonging.
Think of what life was like before people came, even the First Nations. My grandmother made a point of always saying to me, look at the trees and look at the ocean, look at the river. It's always been there. It did fine without us, but we have to depend on it. We must respect it and give it its honor.
I've tried to nurture that and foster it with the younger ones, teaching them a sense of place and identity as well, because it's important for us to know where we come from. And for our people, we come from here.
The land, whether it's the ocean, whether it's the river or the soil or the estuary, it's the entrustment of the land to people who feel the oneness with their territorial area.
I think the estuary is very important for us as K'omoks First Nation individuals and as families, because it is where we're from. It's where we say we've always been. We believe that our Creator put us in this location. We want to protect this area for our children and our children's children so that they can enjoy the richness and the bounty that our ancestors have had as well. The estuary is the heart of the K'omoks Valley. We haven't spent as much time educating the people around us about the First Nations cultures.
We're not here forever, but the land will always be here. That's why they call it K'omoks. It's the land of plenty.
If they could learn about the different sites where the fisheries were, what they were used for, and the cultural significance around those, it might be able to generate something quite phenomenal.
We can learn a great deal from preserving what is naturally here, and it would teach us a lot.
Being connected to this place, this location, is very important to all of us.
The river runs, the waters flow, the tide comes in from whence we know the people lived since time began, our estuary. The seasons come, the fish swim in, take what we need, they'll come again. We know this. they still want more. Leave nothing